A fully loaded semi-truck just drove over 400 miles on a single charge. Not on a test track, not in perfect conditions, but on real highways, through mountain passes, in actual weather. Tesla's Semi has completed a 3,000-mile road test that's sending shockwaves through the trucking industry. And here's what nobody saw coming. This isn't a prototype anymore. This is a production vehicle that's already hauling Pepsi products across California. While Freightliner and Volvo are still testing concepts, Tesla just proved electric Class 8 trucks can match diesel performance. The question isn't whether electric semi-trucks work anymore. The question is how long traditional manufacturers have before they're left behind. Let's talk about what actually happened during this 3,000-mile test, because the numbers tell a story that diesel manufacturers didn't want to hear. Tesla ran the Semi through a route that mimics real-world trucking operations. We're talking Interstate 5 through California's Central Valley, the grapevine grade that climbs over 4,000 feet, and routes that take the truck through temperature swings from desert heat to mountain cold. This wasn't a carefully controlled demonstration. The truck operated in mixed traffic, dealt with California's notorious highway congestion, and ran the same routes that conventional semi-trucks drive every single day. The standout figure, over 400 miles of range, while fully loaded at 82,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. That's the legal maximum for US highways. Tesla claims the truck maintained highway speeds, handled grade climbs without significant range loss, and performed regenerative braking on descents that actually added charge back to the batteries. But here's the detail that matters most to fleet operators. The truck completed typical daily routes without needing midday charging stops. For regional hauling operations, which make up about 80% of trucking routes in North America, that range figure changes the entire cost equation. No fuel stops means more driving time. More driving time means better utilization rates. Better utilization means lower cost per mile. Tesla's engineering team documented battery degradation throughout the test, and according to their data, the pack retained over 95% of its capacity after the full 3,000 miles. For context, diesel engines lose efficiency as components wear, but battery degradation in modern EVs has proven much slower than early predictions suggested. When Elon Musk first announced the Semi back in 2017, the trucking industry didn't just doubt it, they outright mocked it. Veteran truck drivers, logistics analysts, and even some Tesla fans said it was impossible. The physics didn't work. The batteries were too heavy. The range would never be practical. And to be fair, they had good reasons for skepticism. Every previous attempt at electric semi-trucks had failed to deliver on range promises. Nikola became a cautionary tale. Traditional manufacturers like Daimler and Volvo announced electric trucks but kept pushing delivery dates further out. The general consensus was that battery technology simply wasn't ready for Class 8 applications. The core problem was energy density. Diesel fuel contains about 35 times more energy per kilogram than lithium-ion batteries. To match the range of a diesel Semi, you'd need to carry so much battery weight that you'd lose cargo capacity. That's why most experts predicted electric trucks would be limited to short urban routes, maybe 150 to 200 miles at most. Tesla solved this through three approaches. First, they designed the Semi from the ground up as an electric vehicle, not a conversion of an existing diesel chassis. The battery pack is integrated into the frame structure itself, lowering the center of gravity and improving handling. Second, they applied lessons learned from millions of miles of Model S and Model 3 operation to optimize battery thermal management. Keeping batteries in their ideal temperature range dramatically improves efficiency and longevity. Third, and this is crucial, they focused on aerodynamics in ways that diesel trucks never bothered with. The Semi's drag coefficient is reportedly around 0.36, which is better than most sports sedans. For a vehicle that spends hours at highway speeds, reducing wind resistance translates directly into extended range. The result is a truck that weighs about the same as a diesel equivalent when you account for the lack of engine, transmission, and fuel tank weight. The cargo capacity hit is minimal, reportedly around 2,000 pounds, which matters for weight-sensitive loads, but doesn't affect most freight operations. Now let's get into the business side, because this is where the Semi either succeeds or fails. Range numbers are impressive, but trucking companies care about one thing above all else: cost per mile. Diesel fuel currently averages around $3.80 per gallon across the US. A conventional Semi gets about 6.5 miles per gallon on average. That works out to roughly 58 cents per mile just for fuel. Tesla claims the Semi's energy cost is around 7 cents per mile based on commercial electricity rates. Even accounting for higher rates during peak hours, that's a massive operational savings. Maintenance is where the advantage compounds. Diesel engines require regular oil changes, fuel filter replacements, transmission servicing, and DEF fluid top-ups. The Semi has 3 electric motors and essentially no regular maintenance beyond brake inspections and tyre rotations. No more 25,000-mile service intervals that take trucks out of revenue service for days at a time. PepsiCo, Tesla's first major fleet customer, has been running semis since December 2022. They've logged over 100,000 miles across their fleet, and according to interviews with their logistics team, the trucks are hitting utilization rates that exceed their diesel fleet. Drivers reportedly prefer them because of the instant torque, smooth acceleration, and quieter cabin environment. But there's a legitimate infrastructure challenge that can't be ignored. Tesla's building out megacharger stations that can add 400 miles of range in about 30 minutes, but the network is still sparse. For long-haul operations that cross multiple states, the charging infrastructure simply isn't there yet. That's why Tesla is currently focusing on regional routes where trucks return to a Home Depot every night. The upfront cost is another barrier. Tesla hasn't officially released pricing, but industry estimates put the Semi around $180,000 to $200,000, compared to $120,000 to $150,000 for a diesel equivalent. However, when you run the total cost of ownership calculations over a truck's typical 7 to 10 year service life, the fuel and maintenance savings can offset that premium. Fleet operators are doing the math, and for the right applications, it's starting to pencil out. Tesla isn't alone in this space anymore, and that's actually important for the broader industry transition. Daimler's Freightliner e-Cascadia is in customer trials with a claimed range of 230 miles. Volvo's VNR Electric is targeting similar regional applications. BYD, the Chinese manufacturer, is already selling electric trucks internationally, with ranges approaching 300 miles. What's notable is how the competition has shifted messaging. 2 years ago, traditional manufacturers were still questioning whether electric semis made sense at all. Now they're racing to match Tesla's specifications. Freightliner recently announced they're accelerating their electric truck development timeline. Volvo is expanding their battery production capacity specifically for commercial vehicles. The issue for traditional manufacturers is that they're trying to adapt existing platforms while simultaneously developing new ones. Tesla had the advantage of starting with a clean sheet and no legacy diesel business to protect. Ford's experience with the F-150 Lightning shows that established manufacturers can execute electric vehicle transitions successfully, but it requires completely rethinking manufacturing processes and supply chains. Rivian is taking a different approach with their electric delivery van, focusing on last-mile logistics rather than highway hauling. That's probably the smart play for a startup, because Amazon's buying thousands of them and providing guaranteed revenue while Rivian scales up production. The reality is that the trucking industry needs multiple successful electric truck manufacturers. There are over 2 million Class 8 trucks operating in the US alone. Tesla's production capacity, even ramped up significantly, can't serve that entire market. The transition to electric will require traditional manufacturers to succeed as well. So where does this go from here? Tesla's Gigafactory Nevada is ramping up semi-production, with plans to build 50,000 units annually by 2024. That target has already slipped, which is typical for Tesla's ambitious timelines, but even half that number would represent a significant chunk of the annual Class 8 truck market. The bigger question is infrastructure deployment. The US needs thousands of megacharger locations to support a national electric trucking fleet. Tesla's installing them along major freight corridors, but the build-out will take years. Some states are offering incentives for charging infrastructure, and the federal infrastructure bill allocated funds for commercial vehicle charging, but bureaucracy moves slowly. Battery technology continues improving. Tesla's 4680 cells promise higher energy density and faster charging. Speeds. Solid-state batteries, still years away from commercial production, could potentially double range figures. The Semi's current specs are impressive, but they represent a baseline rather than a ceiling. Regulatory pressure is accelerating adoption, whether manufacturers are ready or not. California's Advanced Clean Trucks rule requires increasing percentages of zero-emission truck sales, starting this year. Several other states are adopting similar regulations. By 2035, California mandates that 55% of new truck sales must be zero emission. That's not a suggestion. That's the law. The autonomous driving angle adds another dimension. Tesla's Semi includes the hardware for full self-driving capability, though regulatory approval for autonomous commercial trucks is still distant. But the economics of trucking change dramatically if you can eliminate the driver cost, which represents about 40% of total trucking expenses. That's a separate discussion, but it's part of why Tesla designed the Semi's cabin the way they did. What's clear is that this 3,000-mile test represents more than just validation of one company's product. It's proof that electric semi-trucks can compete with diesel on practical terms right now, not in some distant future. Fleet operators are watching, investors are recalculating, and traditional manufacturers are scrambling to catch up. The Tesla Semi's 3,000-mile road test marks a turning point for commercial trucking. A fully loaded electric Semi just proved it can deliver over 400 miles of range in real-world conditions, handle mountain grades, and operate in a fleet environment without the constant maintenance headaches of diesel powertrains. This isn't about whether electric trucks are possible anymore. We're watching the beginning of a transition that will reshape the entire trucking industry over the next decade. The infrastructure challenges are real, the upfront costs are higher, but the operational economics and regulatory environment are pushing fleet operators toward electric, and Tesla just demonstrated that the technology is ready. The question for the industry now is how fast this transition happens and who gets left behind in the shift. Traditional manufacturers have the production capacity and dealer networks, but they're playing catch-up on technology. Tesla has the technology lead, but needs to scale production dramatically. Either way, diesel's dominance in long-haul trucking just got its first serious challenge. What do you think? Will electric semi-trucks actually replace diesel within the next 10 years? Or are the infrastructure and cost barriers too significant? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on the latest developments in electric vehicles and trucking technology, subscribe to the channel. We're covering this transition as it happens, and the next few years are going to reshape transportation as we know it.